We need to put some HOLDO maneuvers.
Welcome to the HOLDO Maneuver podcast. I'm Mark.
And I'm Mike. We're two hardworking dads trying to immerse ourselves into Star Wars and fit it into our very busy lives.
If this is your first time listening and or watching, in this sometimes short-form Star Wars podcast, we'll share our thoughts on different topics from a galaxy far, far away. So join us as we prepare to execute the HOLDO Maneuver.
Hello there.
Hey, what's up? I got here really quick from... Still doing that? Right?
What?
I said I got here really quick from New York, right?
Yeah, you teleported.
Right. Or I just used the world between worlds.
The world between worlds. Hyperdrive.
Yes. So this is something new that we're trying this week.
First time ever.
Yeah. So bear with us as we kind of learn how to do this. But we watch, or we're going to watch this trailer with our guests. So here's a good time to introduce them. Mr. Kevin Coll and returning Aspen Webster.
Hey!
How you doing?
Howdy. Welcome back. And welcome, Kevin.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us, guys. And Mike and I, Aspen, promised to not bring up that certain genre of music within the Star Wars universe.
Okay, thank you. Listen.
We
Listen.
talked about it enough last time.
Listen,
Kevin knows what we're talking about. He can figure it out.
I'll figure it out.
You know. You know.
But I had saw that Kevin was very excited after seeing the Ahsoka trailer to talk about it, and I know that Aspen is a huge Ahsoka fan, and I know that your co-host Kenny on Trek Wars Pod, I can't tell if he's joking or not, but
I also cannot tell if he's joking, and I'm very serious about that. I think he genuinely does not care for her because he has not seen Clone Wars. He has seen Rebels and does not understand her presence. And I'm trying, and he's seen the movie, he's seen the Clone Wars movie, so he just knows her as like, 14-year-old Ahsoka Tano, and I'm like, you don't understand.
Yeah. He just knows snips, not and talking to Sky Guy, but not
truly the most glorious creature to ever live.
Well, yeah.
So I have to admit, like, my intro to Ahsoka was Rebels. I actually didn't watch the Clone Wars until after I saw Rebels, and I was like, I got to go back and watch some of this story unfold. And I'm glad I did, because it really like helped me understand her more. And I think she's the most well-written, most like just pure character throughout the entire series that they've done the most with. And that, I mean, like through any of the saga or TV shows and all that kind of stuff, like I think she's got the best arc from beginning to end, and they just keep adding to it, which is really neat. So
Kevin, speaking to my heart, my true soul, everything, agreed. My girl.
My first instance with Ahsoka was in Mando, so I'm even further behind.
Oh man.
Wow.
Because I have not watched Clone Wars yet, and I've just started Rebels.
I think it's like the ultimate fan casting. So that must have been like really interesting for you to see like Rosario Dawson playing her, and then realizing that people have been wanting that for like years. So
yeah, I remember seeing her in Mandalorian being like, oh, cool, Rosario Dawson's in this.
Yeah.
Also wonderful. But Ashley Eckstein, just gonna do a shout out, just like
she's great.
True joy. Oh God.
That's all right. We're live.
True droid.
Thanks for thinking of me. But without further ado, I figure we can start checking out the trailer at this point. We'll kind of start and stop it here every once in a while. But so here we go.
Oh, you click play at the same time.
Like I said,
Something's coming.
genre of music. So, first place here. Where do you think this is?
It's definitely like a Jedi temple of some sort. I
Mhm.
don't know if it's the one that's on the fall or if it's a new one that we haven't seen before. Um, Possibly maybe one in the High Republic era. I don't know. But the
Mhm.
circles is a dead giveaway because that's something that you see very consistently in a lot of the Clone Wars and Rebels and things like that. So, but I love the smoke opening and like that long frame and how she's it reminds me like a Japanese like samurai type movie
Mhm.
uh, where the guy's just like coming in, you know, like he's about to kill somebody or do something cool. So
Right. Something's going down.
Yeah, I also love this iconic Ahsoka look, the
Mm.
hooded look, which she did show up in The Mandalorian with, and
Mhm.
is like one of the last shots of her in Rebels.
Yeah.
When she's older, it's later. She's about to go off with Sabine to presumably go find Ezra.
Mhm.
But yeah, I didn't even, I hadn't even clocked this, but that makes sense. I think isn't it the temple on Lothal? Didn't that one get like, uh, that's the specific term for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you said, this is what she was wearing like when we see her kind of like in that epilogue to Rebels.
Mhm.
Spoiler alert to Mike.
Yeah. It's
But
been long enough that I can't get mad. Like,
yeah. Uh,
My
but
dude.
Think dark.
yeah, so yeah, we see a little bit more of it right there. And I really like this bit in here too, where like she does that sweet.
I sense
She's
it.
done
Cover
that
ground.
before in the Clone Wars. If you've watched that, she does that move. So
It's cool to see like some of these moves. And I know that at Celebration, the Asher Eckstein and Rosario Dawson, I believe, have like a panel upcoming where I think it's just a Ahsoka panel where it's about with the two of them.
Oops. I didn't mean to click that button. Ignore that.
That's a lot, folks. But so I so far am enjoying this trailer, and again, I just like kind of like the atmosphere of like what we've seen in this so far.
Red.
red is interesting.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, that was kind of ominous the first time you've seen that in red that I can recall. A great pause, freeze frame on the cat thing.
Oh yeah, the Loth Cat.
The Loth Cat.
Loth
Yeah. Love how
Uh,
they brought that into live action as well, because that's such a huge piece of the Rebels canon. And yeah, it looks great.
I want to say they had, I believe, a Loth Cat showed up in
Yes, it did.
what was it, Book of Boba Fett, or
Was it? Oh,
Mando?
that's right. I think you're
Yeah.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
one of the two. Yeah.
Because I remember it screaming it's a Loth cat at something.
Oh yeah. But this is our first shot of Sabine in here.
With longer hair, because
Yeah.
last time we saw her, she had very short hair, like the pixie cut.
So I actually have a feeling I have an emotional response to this, which is, as a person with short hair, I really wanted to see her continuing to rock the pixie. Though I do appreciate the ability to see all of the rainbow.
I thought she was a total babe with shorter hair,
Oh.
and so I'm somewhat disappointed as well that she still isn't rocking the pixie cut. But I think this is to kind of show us fans that some time has passed from that scene at the end of Rebels where
she can't grow a mustache, so you have to have her grow her hair.
have her grow her hair. So.
Wears comes up in glasses to show.
What I don't understand though is she praying to the helmet, or is she?
I was wondering that.
Like, because this really isn't like a Mandalorian thing where they're like they pray to helmets. Is it like so? I don't know. This is something that's interesting to me what they're showing here. So
yeah, because we know this is also supposed to be taking place around like within the kind of same Mando like time frame,
post Return of the Jedi, sort of in that same kind of New Republic era. Yeah.
So, I guess I took this as her, considering her Mandalorian-ness.
Right. Well, based on where we are in Mando. So
yeah, there's a little bit better of a shot of Sabine. Now I think the casting is pretty good too. I mean, we haven't really seen heard doing anything outside of like this trailer yet. And like this trailer is most of our first looks at a lot of these Rebels characters in live action. Like we got Zeb recently in Mando, which was cool, and he looked great in that too. So
some of the best skin work I've ever seen on a CGI character. Like that looks so cool. How they did that. So
yeah, I'm not sure if we'll see him in this too, but it is cool that they even got Steve Bloom back to do the voice of Zeb.
Gosh.
So I was very happy about that.
Oh, that's such a thrill.
So we got Ahsoka taking on like these two different kind of like battle droids. These all kind of remind me of like you remember like from Revenge of the Sith, like the ones that like Anakin and Obi-Wan were fighting on Grievous's ship.
That's exactly what they are. I think some form of those sort of Magna droids or whatever they're called. And very interesting. Even using the same weapons that are designed to fight against lightsabers. So it tells me that wherever she's at, they are prepared for someone with her special set of skills, as Liam Neeson would say. And
to go back to the hair, Tamer Dixon is also not a huge fan of the long hair. It's not letting me show it for whatever reason. I can't click it and put it on the screen, but I wanted to give her the shout out for commenting. And
Tamer's a dude. I work with him.
Whatever. Sorry, Tamer.
No worries.
Tamer,
Otherwise, he'll give me crap.
Thank you for agreeing with us. We like it when people agree with us.
We do. We do. I get angry when people don't agree.
You are very manly. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Also, speaking of hair, but that isn't hair, her Leku is longer versus Mandalorian, which I realize they like shortened it for Mandalorian, I think probably for action, but I'm glad that they were able to lengthen it, since the older you get, the longer they get. So just a little note.
I like that too in here. And then like the other thing I was kind of thinking with these droids is they also kind of remind me of Proxy from the Force Unleashed game. Just a tiny bit, like this one, like that's closer to the frame. I think they're both the same design, but I think it's just kind of interesting in here too. And then this looks like the same place that we see her like earlier in the trailer too.
For some, war.
There's the Phantom or whatever that thing was called, which was Hera's little shuttle that goes into the ghost ship. So very cool.
Yay.
I think it's called the Phantom. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong when I say
I think you're right, because it's Ghost and Phantom. So yeah.
And speaking of Hera, there she is.
There she is.
Did we see a young Hera in
Yeah, she's in Bad Batch.
That's the name of it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the other thing I've liked about Bad Batch too, is that like Bad Batch is almost like a prequel to Rebels in a way, because we saw a young Kanan in that. We saw a young Hera in that. I think Sabine is too close to the age of Ezra to like be seen in that. So
in the Clone Wars though, you get like a prequel story around her house, like the house of Ren, and sort of that storyline and things like that, and like how her family connects to Obi-Wan and things like that. So it's very like, I love how all these layers, it's like this onion that just continues to unfold, and you introduce something in like a future timeline, you can always go back and explain it. And I think that's what's really neat about Star Wars now, is that even if it's a problem, you can find a way to explain the problem in something else, which then enhances the other thing, you know?
Or you could go the wrong way, which is introduce a baby Rancor that you later have to watch be murdered. So
true. Very true. Oh, Munchie. R.I.P.
Speaking of Hera being part of like the same connection to Obi-Wan, we have Mary Elizabeth Winstead playing Hera, who in real life also has a connection to Obi-Wan, in that Obi-Wan, Ewan McGregor, and Mary Elizabeth Winstead are together.
I thought you were going to tell me like Obi-Wan dated Hera's mom or something, like he dated Sabine, like all over the place in Clone Wars.
Satine?
Yeah, Saltine, whatever her name was.
Saltine.
Yeah,
that's a throwback to a podcast we were on last week. So.
Yeah, if people want to know where the Saltine, we were on Geek Dad Life with Ralph over there.
Incredible.
But yeah, So yeah, this is our first shot of Hera from the back in this, and then from the side, and then
And
Chopper.
Chopper!
Chopper was like, I shouted the first time I saw this. Like, trailer. I was like, wow.
When I started watching this, I was like, man, now I really have to watch Rebels before August. Like,
Yeah. You
Oh,
have
this
to.
yeah.
This isn't even Chopper's first live action appearance because he's in Rogue One too.
Mm-hmm.
He's there, scooting through the background.
Scooting through the background, yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah,
Hera gets a shout out in that too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
and she's in Rise of Skywalker too. Technically, the Ghost is like at the end when the rebel ships, or not rebels, I don't know what they call it, the Resistance is fighting the
Oh, sure.
big First Order fleet. Yeah.
What's his face from the book? Shadows of the Empire in there too?
Dash Rendar?
Yeah, him.
I don't think so. I think the Outrider is there. I don't know. I'd like to think Dash Rendar hasn't made his appearance yet because he's my favorite character of all time. And like I have this whole concept in my head of how I would put Dash Rendar into Star Wars, and it's just not the right time yet. So
It's not the moment.
It's
Well,
not
Ashley Eckstein is also in Rise of Skywalker. Very briefly, her voice is in it. So
Which I know many people then got sad and thought that meant that Ahsoka had died by that point in the universe.
It's funny. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I when I watched that, I hadn't seen actually Rebels yet or any kind of piece, and then I guess that 7th season of Clone Wars came out after that, I believe. Right? Timeline. Timeline.
The timeline I can't keep straight, so I wrong.
that's
one.
that's another podcast. It's Celebration. They just announced like how that timeline like supposedly works over like 30,000 years or some craziness. And
Yeah, I
like
saw
that.
it in the background, one of the pictures. I was like, that is too much for my brain right now.
Yeah.
Well, luckily in a few weeks we have my buddy Dakota coming on who does a lot of like the MCU timeline videos, and he's done some Star Wars ones too, which people should check those out because he said for some reason the Star Wars videos he does never get as many views as the MCU ones that he does. So
I can second that. It's crazy.
Yeah.
You'd think that it'd get a ton more, but they just don't.
Yeah, so go check out Geek Critique. But I really like the shot that we get a Hera here too, because I think the makeup looks great. And Mary Elizabeth said it also helps that Hera wears like the flight helmet with like the goggles too, because that's probably like a stitching kind of like makeup thing there, where they can put like the tendrils in the back of it and just do her face like that. So that's probably definitely makes the makeup time much shorter than it would be.
She's probably not in the makeup chair for 12 hours like some people are. Let's put it that way.
To film for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Sure.
For others.
Get in the chopper.
Also, so I don't know who these people are at all.
So,
I don't know
this is exciting for me because Ray Stevenson, there he is with a very, very cool beard. And whoever this other actress is, you have orange lightsabers, which is neat.
Yes.
Which we'll see in a second. But like, what's fascinating is they seem like new characters and they seem original, which we need that. We need some more original characters in Star Wars. And I'm interested to see how this all pieces together, especially given the timeline that this takes place in, right? Because like, we're led to believe the Sith are kind of gone, but not really, because we know what happens in Rise of Skywalker. But how's this play out? So
I remember having a toy orange lightsaber.
I think that's just because they like sold a bunch of like.
Right, I just remember they had an orange one out, and I remember I don't know who had this, like being confused. So I was like, I'll buy it.
It's a good one though. I was searching all over Reddit. I was like, Reddit, tell me who, because I was looking up another actor who wasn't listed on IMDb, and there's some theories around this, around kind of a culmination of the storylines that are happening in Bad Batch and Mandalorian about the cloning, that it's actually that this could be part of that, and these characters could be related to that.
All
So,
Palpatines, don't say that.
oh God, no, no, something cooler than that.
Somehow he
could-
returned.
These could be just low-level Force users or something too that are just dark
Yeah.
side Force users. Maybe
Yeah.
it ties in with the Acolyte that's coming out soon,
Oh,
or
right.
you know, like in Rise of Skywalker on Exegol, they had that whole stadium of like dark side people. That
Yeah.
so like maybe these
Dark
are
side people.
I don't know what they were, but they were doing like their version of the Wave or something in that
Right.
scene, which was kind of weird. So
In my mind, they were just a bunch of ghosts.
yeah,
Or just a bunch of like faulty Palpatine clones that were just cheering on himself.
floating snokeheads. Oh, God.
So this actress is Ivana Sakno. I don't know
Okay.
if I pronounced that correctly, but she's from the Ukraine, so I probably didn't pronounce it correctly. It's probably pronounced.
You gotta say Av or O.
Yeah.
The V.
Yeah.
But the other thing I thought is that that these could also be what we just saw in like Obi-Wan, like where we had like
Inquisitors.
like, Inquisitors with like Reva.
Mm.
I don't know if like they'd still be around at this point.
Some could be, and they could have found some offshoot of the Inquisitors.
Yeah.
I actually heard on another like Easter egg type thing for this video, somebody referenced that they could be oh gosh, I just lost my train of thought. Oh, potential like Knights of Ren.
Mm.
You know, that could be like
True.
the origin of Knights of Ren or something like that. So that's a thought.
Nice.
Yeah, whatever the case, if they have orange lightsaber, okay, this is dumb, because you know how like lightsabers turn, like kyber crystal turns red because you like
yeah.
I've got a lot of official like terminology here. You go you do this thing, right?
You bleed it. Yeah,
You
bleed the
bleed it,
crystal.
bleed it.
Yeah.
Do we think there's any relationship of like orange being close to red? Probably not. That just could be whatever your kyber crystal makes your lightsaber. Because at first when I saw this, I thought it was red, and I thought that just like the color was off on my TV.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
But it's orange. So
I'm just happy
Interesting.
that this means that you might be able to buy orange lightsabers, because that was one of my favorite things in the first Jedi Fallen Order game, was that you could give Cal an orange lightsaber in that, and I was like, yes. So I always wanted an orange lightsaber. So now that they actually like have that, like, and Rey's is yellow, because I also thought that was cool, like
Right.
in the Shadows of the Empire book,
Yeah.
that Luke had a yellow one during that in between
Mhm.
time.
The in between time.
Yeah, to reference back to Kevin bringing up Dash Rendar. So I think that would be cool if they maybe like went more into like, you know, like the whole crystal, like the lightsaber crystal lore with that, because they've done like plenty of that with like the different like Clone Wars episodes, both like in Genndy Tartakovsky's like micro series. They did it kind of a little bit in there, and then they did it in Dave Filoni's Clone Wars series.
Well, I don't
too.
want to spoil it, but later on, I think it's like one of the last scenes in the trailer. There's a reference to a droid who has a lot of experience with kyber crystals. So we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
So,
David Tennant's droid.
yeah.
Yeah. Now this shot feels very Star Trek within Star Wars.
I can speak to this as an expert on,
Go for it.
Compare. No, I am not the Star Trek person. But it kind of does have that vibe. I would like to say, by the way, this is off topic, but that the most recent Mandalorian episode also felt very Star Trek to me. So I like the overlap, but I agree.
The only overlap I know of Star Trek and Star Wars is Ralph McQuarrie. I know he was doing like production design on the Star Trek motion picture, so that's all I know. So
And just the work ILM does in general.
yeah, well, that's fair. I forget about ILM. Yeah.
And Aspen and Kenny's podcast.
Yeah.
There you
There
go.
you go.
So and then it basically looks like this ship is probably like a resistance ship. Because of when this would be. So it'd be like a blockade runner type ship.
Oh, good ship.
So get freaking
Ezra's
cool.
Tower.
Yeah, we get to. It's cool. It's cool to see it in live action. Like
It is. And then that's the ship. Like we saw her on that ship in the last scene of Rebel. Yeah, this is so cool.
So I almost wonder if we're just re-seeing the epilogue of Rebels again in Ahsoka, just like reshot frame for frame in live action. Do you?
Well,
maybe
Think possibly that we are.
It's entirely.
I guess technically this shot is technically animated because none of that is.
Yeah.
It's a good call out, Mark. I don't know. I mean, I think it would make some sense because that epilogue is so important. And if you're getting audience coming into this that hasn't seen Rebels yet, it would be worth, having that as some context. Because you might get a Mandalorian audience that hasn't seen any of that, So
Right.
Yeah, it is cool to see Lethal though in live action.
Tamer also agrees. He's screaming Lethal. Yeah, however you say it. Lethal.
It's so beautiful. I think it's a truly beautiful planet.
Yeah. And this looks like that same planet again that we saw Ahsoka on, possibly. Although this also seems like it could be that
Cloud City.
Although this looks like it could be Lethal too, right?
Where was Sabine at the end of Rebels? Was she on Lethal? Is that where she was living?
Yeah, in that epilogue,
tower.
yeah, she was
In
like
the
they
tower.
visited the tower. So I almost think that like this could be
that
bit there, and then like the mural with everybody is like just off screen to the right.
The clouds look the same,
right over
so
there.
I'm thinking you might be right.
Yeah, I think like the city of Lethal is. Now that I'm looking at it, I would not be surprised because it is. This does look like it. So
Yeah, and this looks like that ship we just saw in the shot before that too. So
I want to know how many people in the chat are going to be watching Rebels again leading up to this, just to build the hype for the next few months.
Oh my gosh, I think I will.
Yeah,
very excited because you said that, Mike. You're like, maybe it's refilming it, and I was like, I can't even remember exactly how it went. So gotta get
someone
back.
named Cheese is going to be rewatching it.
All right, Cheese.
we got some fun names in the chat. I mean, Tamer, but then Ropey Siskelbert.
Ropey, look at you.
and then Cheese.
Cheese. Good names.
That's such a great name.
Just gotta watch out for Steve Urkel.
Not to get off on topic, my son, I have a 3-year-old. He just got like a little stuffed parrot for my wife going to Costa Rica, and he just geniusly named the parrot Flip Flop. What a cool name! Flip Flop. Yeah, perfect name for a parrot. Yeah. So.
Oh my god.
Flip Flop. This goes out to you, buddy.
There you go.
It's been a while. Things have changed.
So serious. She's so serious.
Now,
there's some New Republic ships we have. These are similar to the Rebel ships that we saw in Hoth, leaving Hoth.
That's right.
In Empire Strikes Back. So
they look like the Mayor McCheese thing from McDonald's.
So there's the New Republic people.
And Miss Genevieve O'Reilly, there in the middle, is returning as Mon Mothma, who doesn't age at all over the course of like 50 years.
Well, if you notice, she doesn't have the flat hairdo. I know we talk a lot about hairdos on this, but like her, like when we saw her in Rogue One, she had like the really nice tapered, cut, and then now she's kind of back to her more regal style of haircut, like what we see in Andor, which is interesting. So
I think she probably looks good because I imagine she leaves her stupid husband and she gets to live her life with joy.
Oh, come on. Perrin's awesome with that top knot and crappy attitude.
I'm assuming that dude's going to die in Andor season 2.
He better.
Yeah.
He probably gets full custody of their kid. So that's also why she's not stressed out too.
She's like, well, it was a bummer, but I guess I got to go lead a rebellion.
Yep.
Yeah.
You served your purpose. Goodbye.
But remember, at this point, she's like leading the New Republic, and for some people, she's not a popular leader, like because she's demilitarizing the New Republic during this point, which is somewhat interesting. And you see everything that's happening in Mando season 3. It's very fascinating to see how this is all kind of coming together. And when I hear Ahsoka in that previous clip say something has changed,
Right.
you know, it's like, all right.
I just got goosebumps.
Yeah, I know.
To her right, that character looks familiar, and I don't know why. Her right, our left.
The guy with the green?
No, the other side. The other.
Oh, the other side. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Just because it's kind of tough, just because of like the holograms, and
Yeah.
then just they haven't announced like so much of the cast of this show either. So but like at least we know for sure that Genevieve O'Reilly is in this.
There.
And then this is after the many Bothans died.
Well, Whitney Houston's touring as a hologram, so we don't know if she's really there.
Yeah.
Remember.
I mean, she could be in here too.
Whitney Houston's in this show. Imagine.
I mean, we got Jack Black and Lizzo. So
That's true.
That was so good.
I loved it. I loved it. You could just like tell Lizzo was like, I get to hold this baby.
That's probably a demand. Like,
I must hold Grogu the entire episode.
Started hearing whispers.
a little bit better shot of Genevieve O'Reilly. Now, like you were Aspen, you had said it too, because Mon Mothma in Return of the Jedi has more of a pixie cut in that movie too.
Yep.
And now she's got a little bit longer of a hairdo, which I don't think this this doesn't take place like right after Return of the Jedi, so there's plenty of time for her hair to, grown out again. But they're getting rid of the pixie cuts all over.
I think it's just part of, everybody needs to change every now and then, and she's like leading the New Republic. So, we got to get back to something. I mean, how many hairdos did Natalie Portman have in the prequels?
Yeah.
And how many did Leia have? So, it's all part of the.
It's fair. That's very fair.
The precedent was set many years ago.
How many wardrobe changes do we have in Andor between worlds? Like they just I don't know how these people travel.
Even Stellan Skarsgård has two different hairdos in that.
It's true.
It's true. Man. Very true. I she looks very much. I will say it like Scully here.
Oh, good call out. Yeah.
Which is great. I'm very pro. So.
They could be sisters, maybe. Little Gillian Anderson cameo.
Hopefully, Mon Mothma is not isn't as close to Margaret Thatcher though.
I never watched X-Files, but wouldn't they be on opposite sides since they're aliens?
Yeah, she just wouldn't believe in Mon Mothma.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
there he is.
We know who this guy is. So
he's from Avatar, right?
Yeah. and from Wakanda Forever.
Yeah.
The Blue Man Group.
All of the above. So this is definitely Thrawn.
Surprise.
Yeah. So like you can see his outfit there. He's gotten free of the space whales.
His outfit. You can tell by that.
And we only talk about space whales when Aspen's on the show. So
space whales.
What are they actually called? Like the
Kurgles?
Purgle.
Purgles.
Yeah,
Purgle.
Purgle. Yeah,
which we saw in a Mando season 3 episode, right?
Mm-hmm.
So good. Oh, beautiful.
Do we know who's playing Thrawn yet? Has that been announced, or is this still a secret?
They haven't confirmed who it is, but I'm pretty sure that it's just Lars Mikkelsen still.
Okay.
He said I love it because he's been like, no, that's a rumor, but could just be trying to throw you off the scent,
Right.
Yeah, I even saw a video somewhere where someone like tried to like line up this head-on photo of Lars Mikkelsen and then like rotated it so that the ears were like overlapping one another.
People have too much time.
Yeah. Wow. I don't have time to do any of that.
It's funny because they've recast everyone versus their voice actors, except for Katie Sackhoff as Bo-Katan.
And Steve Bloom.
Oh yeah,
just because I mean
he's still a voice actor though.
Yeah,
and they did, and Chopper. They didn't recast Chopper. Chopper's as himself.
So
about Thrawn's return as heir to the Empire.
Heir to the Empire.
Cue the Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he's like,
It's one of my favorite books.
yeah. So this is the very famous like expanded universe from like the dark times in between the 80s and the late 90s.
The dark times.
Yeah,
Dark times.
before the Empire. So I know Dave Filoni definitely put this in there as like a call out to obviously where Thrawn originally came from within like the book series. So it's cool that they worked that line into the series here too.
But it makes sense, right? Because again, like we referenced that thing that was in the background of Star Wars Celebration, the timeline, and like, you know, you have the Age of Resistance or the First Order, but before that, it's like we're in this kind of in between, which is, you know, this power vacuum post, you know, the Galactic Civil War and stuff. And so I love the concept of an heir to the Empire, whatever that is. We don't know that it's the First Order yet, and how long that takes to build. So this is well timed, well chosen, and well timed, Filoni.
real quick. So I have not read Heir to the Empire. Is that a Thrawn book, or
it's the original Thrawn book? So
Okay.
Zahn,
OG Thrawn.
yeah, Timothy Zahn wrote them. Did I say his name right? Is that right? Yeah.
Oh,
And and then he rewrote Thrawn into canon with a 3-book trilogy. Once they brought him into Rebels.
My partner, my husband, has read all of them. He's going to be really mad at me for forgetting again.
Was Thrawn in the Shadows of the Empire video game?
No, that the villain of Shadows of the Empire was Shizor,
yeah,
and he was
that green dude with the
ponytail.
Like, right, I thought there was some other battle like before you got to him in the game. I can't remember who it was now.
I don't remember.
I never played the game, but I remember we watched a recap of people playing the game for the episode.
There's always
we did an episode on Shadows of the Empire a few episodes back.
There's always been this issue of like who is the real heir to the Empire, and I think Lucas's vision was that when the Empire came crumbling down, that it was going to be more of like the pirates and the crime syndicates and things like that were going to kind of take over that vacuum, and that's Shadows of the Empire kind of built into that a little bit. But we got something different under J.J. Abrams. We'll table that for another day.
So.
This is a person who I don't know who she is.
Yeah, it just looks like is this the same
Maggie
person
Smith from Harry Potter?
Well, I think isn't this the magistrate character that was in the Mandalorian season 2 episode, the Jedi?
Possibly.
Oh.
This also back of her.
Oh,
yeah.
There we go.
Wasn't that her that when in that episode she goes up to her and like goes, "Where's Thrawn?" Isn't that the same character?
Oh, I don't remember that. I remember that happening, but I don't remember how to rewatch that.
Somebody in the chat confirmed this for me. I'm pretty sure. I'm right.
Someone tell Kevin he's right. We love being told we're right.
Well, because the other thing I thought of is that it's probably not, because like the design has changed too much. But like if they possibly worked having like a Night Sister in live action into the show.
Oh,
Tamer has said that her. I believe that means you're right.
That's okay. That her. I got it.
Why say many word when few word do trick?
When you say Night Sister, is that like Dathomir witch? That's how I call them. I call them Dathomir witches. Yeah,
Darth Maul's sisters or whatever they are.
Yeah, the Dathomir witches. Yeah, I wouldn't because they would look. They have like white skin. So
she's kind of pasty. She's just in the shadows,
like a witch would be.
So this place looks familiar to me. It seems like a place that you could say is between two places.
It looks like the tower that Gandalf was on in Lord of the Rings.
Well,
that's
I've thought about this a few times too. It looks like yeah. Did you say the space between spaces or the world?
well, yeah,
between worlds,
it looks like the world between worlds.
Yeah, but it also looks kind of cheesy to be the world between worlds too, like that light that's kind of in the background there.
Yeah,
like,
that seems like a mistake. That light.
I read somewhere that there's this maybe it's in the High Republic content that there's like this island, kind of floating island in space thing that has something to do with the Sith or whatever. Like this could be that. I don't know. Go to Screen Crush. They have, not to plug other sites, but they have their Easter egg video, which I think called this one out. But
real Ryan does do good videos over there.
Yeah, before I get ahead of myself, I do want to confirm Deanna Lee Inosanto was in that clip before us, who played Morgan Elsbeth in the episode The Jedi in Mandalorian season 2. So that was her. So
Cool.
Yeah.
So Tamer, you were right, and Kevin was also right.
Everyone was right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Everyone
we
gets a
all-
trophy.
We all
Yeah.
win.
Yeah, so that's how it works.
I'm gonna sleep well tonight.
Yes, it's interesting to see.
We have to.
Yeah, we get a little bit better shot of his orange lightsaber here. His armor looks pretty.
I was gonna say, dude, this looks like straight medieval. Like
Right.
this is like the beard, the nice manicured haircut, the super awesome orange lightsaber, and the armor. Like this is like, I like this.
Well
This is King Arthur
manicured.
stuff.
Yep.
Well manicured, famously medieval.
Yes.
Yeah, his
yeah,
saber
yeah.
almost looks like it has a little bit of a cross guard, like more of a bigger
Right.
cross. Like you can
What was
barely
that,
see it, but it's kind of there.
What was that movie Sean Connery played a knight in?
The Last Night, like that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
But-
great.
You
Dude,
just
could
called
just-
out something really interesting, Mark. Like it does have the crossblade there. If you have one that's slightly erratic, you have Kylo Ren's lightsaber, and so maybe these are Knights of Ren.
Yeah, that's fun.
Ooh.
Yeah, they could be. And then Ezra even found that one lightsaber in one of the seasons of Rebels that had like the cross guard on it as well too.
Mhm.
So it should be
Prepare for the worst.
a little bit more Hera here. Yeah, and I'm definitely thinking that Mary Elizabeth, when she said, only has to do makeup for her face.
Right.
So she got a very
It might even not even be
easily
makeup.
for
It might have
makeup.
the dots and they just CG the makeup. on
yeah
it.
they could have done that too. Just do the CG.
Do we
CG
think she's
makeup.
gonna do any French accents?
No, we'll just leave that to Lumiere.
Ugh, gosh.
I actually met Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Not to name drop, but I met her here in my hometown of Memphis, where I live. They were shooting a pilot for a HBO series that never made it to air. And they were at a local bar, her and Stellan Skarsgård. I got pictures with both of them.
Stellar skateboard? You got to meet Stellar skateboard?
I did.
You just throwing those names out there left and right.
Who knew that they would both end up being in Star Wars at some point, which is just crazy to me. So
Wow.
Eventually, everybody is.
might have to tweet that one out
It's
after
going
this
that way.
episode. So
Oh, that's cool though. She's cool. Oof.
they were very nice, by the way. They were super like down to earth people. So
Nice. Yeah, the three top billed actors in Cocaine Bear have been in a Star Wars.
Gary
Alden-
Russell.
Yeah,
what a
Kerry Russell,
time to be
Alden
alive.
Ehrenreich, and O'Shea Jackson Jr.
Oh, that's
Wow.
right.
It wasn't the bear, you mean? He wasn't in Star Wars?
We have to prepare for the worst.
See, like this, because this reverse shot again makes it look. This, I mean, this could be like a planetarium type of place too, just because it looks like there's
It's
like
got a star chart behind him for sure.
yeah, like a star chart or like these like readings that are maybe just being projected. But it does look a lot like the World Between Worlds too. So
And it's interesting how she's holding the saber. They're going back to that more power style that Lucas liked in the beginning.
yeah, especially with her because she had started with one saber and then got two sabers and then kind of changed like her stance and hold of them as she got different ones. And then if you ever see these in real life, like the ones that they sell for AHSOKA at Galaxy's Edge, they're kind of done like in a katana style as far as like the handle.
Mhm.
And like one is a little bit longer and the other one's shorter, so that like the one that
Hmm.
she's holding in the front, she can do that, and then it holds it the other way in the back.
Oh, she does. They're like further along in the trailer. Her fighting style, like it's definitely like her specific Ahsoka fighting style that you see, which is very exciting.
Yeah.
Oh, the kick!
And that's just straight up Ahsoka too.
Mhm.
Oh, look at her.
I just love that they're going hard on this teaser trailer already with like
Right.
lightsaber battles, and like this is great.
I mean, outside of Obi-Wan, we haven't had many lightsaber battles in the past few years.
Well, and I like your call out, Mike, on just the fighting stance, like
Yeah.
being very OG. Because again, I called out the medieval sort of theme here.
Mhm.
Like that's a very, like, you know, like you think about knights holding those big swords, like they're heavy, you know, and they're just like you
Mhm.
can't just, you know, ninja them around like freely.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool how they're kind of going old school on this. I act
Yep.
like I know what I'm talking about when it comes to like, yeah,
You were
fencing
there.
and yeah.
And that's kind of
Fencing
how
and
like Obi-Wan would hold it too, like where he would, you know, just hold the saber up. He would just be like, you know, like
Oh
So-
yeah.
yeah.
like there's that there's always like that shot of him just kind of like holding it up like that.
I feel like
But-
there's there are always
Okay.
those people that know about the different like lightsaber fighting styles, and they're like, "Ah, yes, Dooku's fighting with like style 3," and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I don't know, cool."
Just a little bit of ship action here. See
Yeah.
the Phantom again. Or no, that's not the Phantom.
See, this has got everything you want in a
Not
Star
Ghost?
Wars like concept. You got real characters that have like things that we need to care about, and they're like the stakes are super high. You got ground battles, you've got air battles, space battles, lightsaber fights, just all kinds of cool stuff.
This, yes, totally agreed. Like it's like it actually matters. Like the stakes matter because we
Right.
care about people and the things that are happening. Also, call out the kind of old school rebel look of this ship.
Yep.
Yeah. And then
They're
there's
going-
just like the Resistance fighter there too.
Going full Rogue One moment here, except instead of Darth Vader or even Luke Skywalker in Mando season 2, it's like now you got this bad guy who's going through and just taking people out.
Bad guy.
Yeah, it's like Star Wars version of like the Marvel hallway fight.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
I like that. That's a good Mark.
Yeah.
Good call.
Well,
There he is.
yeah. I was gonna go back, but I paused it perfectly on Ezra. So this is like our only shot of Ezra in the trailer too, but it's
Just
pretty
a
cool.
little buddy. There's this whole thing. Do y'all know who Raul Coley is?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I
he's-
don't.
For the win.
Yeah, he was in iZombie. He was in
Oh, that's
he's
right.
been in a couple of
The
Flanagan
Haunting
things.
of Bly Manor.
Yeah, and like Midnight Mass.
Yeah.
He's too old to be Ezra, but there's this whole thing that he was going through on Twitter where it's like he should have been Ezra. If he'd been just like a little bit younger, I would have been like Raul
Did you-
Coley.
They just de-aged Harrison Ford, so why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bring in Raul. But no,
I
this
mean,
guy
or
also
just
seems great.
make a new cool character for him to play in
Oh,
in
Ezra.
yeah, like well, we were gonna slightly touch on some of the other Celebration stuff, but like put him in like one of like the new film that's like the like origins of like the Force and the Jedi. Put him in that. He'd probably
He'd
love
roll.
being in that.
y'all just gotta
Yeah.
look him up. He's the best. He's just a real nerd that loves Star Wars, and talented nerds should be in Star Wars.
There you go.
Let's see. So yeah, the shot I was trying to get here really quick is I just like that like we see like this kind of resistance kind of like military garb in here again, like we saw like when Matt Lanter had like his cameo in kind of that prison escape episode of The Mandalorian. We kind of saw the same kind of garb in there too. So I think it's cool that we're seeing this a lot in here too.
Yeah, and this is a good scene again, kind of where we are in the state of the galaxy. The New Republic just clearly doesn't feel like having a big military, a police force, a way of keeping the peace.
Mhm.
And you already saw it in Mandalorian season 3, where, you know, the New Republic X-Wing guys flying around and, you know, there's trouble. And now you see this happening and things like that. So I just love, again, like the little onion layers of how things connect. And
Mhm.
it's
Oh,
so
yeah.
cool.
Oh yeah.
And Ray Stevens, I just gotta like
Yeah.
pull him out again and call him out, because like he was totally wasted in the Thor series in Marvel, in my opinion. It's like Volstagg.
Oh yeah.
So like to see him in as a character that actually is going to do something really cool and use his talents, I'm pretty excited about that.
Mhm.
Very cool.
I'm
Yeah.
also wondering, like Sabine and Ezra are always more like brother or like sister kind of relationship within
Maybe.
like Rebels,
Maybe.
but this shot makes me think,
Otherwise,
otherwise.
I never really. Did you really feel like a brother-sister relationship? Because I definitely sort of saw those two kind of ending.
Well, I
up
guess within the Star
together.
Wars universe, yes, a brother-sister relationship.
I see what you did there.
I always shipped them a little bit.
Yeah.
He definitely was into her. I think maybe when, you know, they did the time jump, there wasn't as much, but I
Mhm.
always found that I was like, I bet this a little romantic.
I think there's a little romance. I mean, I think there's definitely something there. I mean, I'm also thinking there's something there between Jin and Bo in Mandalorian season 3 too. So I
Me
want that to happen.
too.
Grogu needs a mommy. So,
Yeah, listen, we just need to support him with as many parental figures as possible.
that's right.
Yeah, so like this looks like, so we've kind of brought up Knights of Ren a few
awkward
times.
pause.
Yeah,
Well, that also looks like one of the Inquisitor, like the
Mm.
5th brother, or 4th brother, or 8th brother, or whatever one of those things
yeah,
were.
it definitely
Yeah.
is. Yeah,
29th
got-
brother.
Yeah,
You
it's
can-
even got
yeah.
the same.
Yeah, this is an
Rotating.
Inquisitor. This is an Inquisitor saber for sure, and it's redder, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
red and it's got it twirls. You know, it spins around.
Yeah, yeah.
and this looks like some kind of like junkyard that they're on too. Like, all those almost look like pod.
Shipyard.
I see that's more of a
racer, like-
shipyard because that's too nice
engines.
to be a junkyard.
It looks like maybe they're building decommissioning ships, maybe potentially.
You got the random people in the background, just like ain't my problem working.
What are we doing?
Just a sweet force push.
Over here.
Yeah, we both just did that.
Man, a lot of people getting bisected in Star Wars recently.
You can't just stab them. You gotta.
Gotta cut
Well,
them in half.
but even if you get cut in half, you can still
True.
find some legs.
Yeah, what's
Spider
up there?
legs.
What's up there, Small? And then Liam Neeson's just, or Qui-Gon's just looking in the mirror like, "Am I a joke to you?"
Maul could come back from that, and I just
Well,
get
you could
stabbed
also-
once, and I'm out.
You could also fall in lava and still end up being
Mhm.
like, you know, the biggest, baddest villain of the universe. So, you know.
That's right.
So truly, Qui-Gon.
This looks like that same shipyard too.
Yeah.
So this is
it's-
probably before like they're down there, but this is also like another sweet shot of like her just like jumping. This
I
is where you
mean-
this is where you want to be like, well, actually, she left the Jedi Order.
Yeah, maybe it's like in spirit, she's the most Jedi of all the Jedi. My personal
Well,
feeling.
I was telling my wife this, like, during the Rise of the Skywalker era of when Star Wars was out. And I had to explain to her Ahsoka. And I said, I think Ahsoka is actually informing a lot more of what the new Jedi Order should be because of what she went through. And, like, maybe she is still around. I don't know. I have faith. But, like, you hear how she's, like, educating Luke in that Boba Fett little Mando one-off and stuff. And I don't know. I think Ahsoka has a lot of influence on the future of the Jedi. So
Oh my god. Yeah. I have a lot of really strong feelings about Jedi. And I think that she very much embodies what they should have been and could be. So very pro that.
Mhm.
Ugh.
All right, there's our droid
Yeah, he's
that I
got,
referenced earlier.
he got a sweet hard hat looking top to him. This is
Yep.
definitely Lethal too.
It's a droid with mutton chops.
Yeah.
Oh,
So this is Hu Yang. This is for everybody who's watching. That was Hu Yang, and he helps young Jedi choose their right kyber crystals. So there's our kyber crystal full circle conversation.
and he's David Tennant. Hopefully, it's still David Tennant.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I guess they could very easily just ADR the voice again. But here's our thumbnail. This is the thumbnail for the episode. And I think pretty much everyone's thumbnail that is doing a YouTube video about
Of this
trailer. This is like the hero shot from the trailer.
Mhm.
But yeah, this looks again like that same kind of shipyard. So it seems like there's gonna be like this huge fight. And then this is where we found out it was coming out in August.
Yeah.
So
Which I was so excited to see that it's coming out in August because I don't like to wait long for this stuff. You know?
It's bad enough they make you wait weekly. Wait weekly.
Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
Oh,
Well, that's the
Disney.
problem. We get to watch the first episode, and it's like, oh man, I have to wait a whole week for the next one to come out. What kind of world? What is this? The 90s? What are we doing here?
I have to just say, when I watched this trailer the first time, I cried. Just
I think
like
it's okay to weep. I think that's fair.
I just kept going, my girl.
this is definitely one of the reasons why I asked Aspen to come on this, because I know how much you like Ahsoka. So we needed to have the biggest Ahsoka fan on the episode, and I saw how excited Kevin was about the trailer and everything from Celebration. So I was like, these are going to be the two best people to have.
And I'm just
on-
here.
Well, no, you're on every episode, and
I'm just here.
I mean
Mike.
that's my tag.
You matter, Mike.
Sometimes.
Sure.
Oh, okay.
Kick
Bye.
himself out.
Yeah. Yeah, just like I guess I didn't expect to as much because I love Rebels and Clone Wars, and I love Ashley Eckstein, and I love all the voice actors and other girls, but I didn't expect to be so affected by it, and then I was just like, Arnar.
Yeah.
So watching this, the thing that made me really excited was just the fact that when I watched the finale of Rebels, and it was so cliffhangery, I kept wondering how they were going to resolve it. And like, it never in my head did I imagine it would be a live action thing, because Dave Filoni's always been animation, right?
Mhm.
So I'm like, well, maybe we'll get a third series that will just be another animated jaunt and stuff like that. But then The Mandalorian came out, and I'm like, wait a minute, what if they did? No, they surely wouldn't do that. And then here we are, and it's like everything a fan of this content would want. Here we're getting it, and so it's really neat. My only thing is, like, why isn't Luke Skywalker teaming up with her? I just have an issue. Like, and I know
he might.
He's pouting on that island planet with the blue milk.
I was gonna say, like, Grogu has already left him. Like, who's he training? What's he doing right now? Because we're still kind of in that like post Jedi Luke era where he's still very, very relevant as like one of the biggest heroes in the galaxy, and hasn't been somewhat reduced to myth yet. But
He
like
was starting that school, training Leia or whatever.
Yeah, presumably he's starting a school. I'm very glad he's not in it.
I don't think he should be, but I hope there's somewhat of an explanation of like why
she's going to be helping. Yeah.
Because like Thrawn, this sort of backstory, this heir to the Empire thing, like this is a big deal. Like Luke should want to make sure like crap doesn't get out of hand here. Now,
it's like a Marvel movie where like you're like, why isn't someone helping out with this terrible like existential threat? And it's like, oh, they're busy.
Yeah. Was it Michael Douglas said in Ant-Man? Oh, they're too busy dropping cities. So maybe he's doing something else that he thinks is more important. So
I feel like Luke could show up at one point, possibly just because of the relationship that Ahsoka had with his dad. I feel, and like they kind of touched on that a little bit in like the episodes of Book of Boba Fett that they showed
I'm a
up
friend
in.
of the family. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was so cool.
I feel like that would be cool to kind of explore a little bit more.
That's
And
true.
I don't remember if it's like 100% confirmed yet, but I believe that Hayden Christensen is supposed to be in this as well.
I've seen him listed as part of the cast. Yeah. So
Yeah, but I've only seen that on IMDb, and I know that IMDb is like user editable. So, and I know it's not on unless like Lucasfilm themselves says it, then I take it with a grain of salt until like I actually see it. But I'm hoping that he's in it too, because I mean he could have filmed his stuff while they were doing Obi-Wan. And I would assume it would be like all like flashbacks, kind of similar to like what we got with him and Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
I mean, I still think it'd be cool to see like live action flashbacks to like Clone Wars era, like Anakin and Ahsoka.
Oh. Yeah.
you're gonna get Aspen crying again.
That, by the way, I didn't even think about that connection of like, obviously she was so close to Anakin, there would be this emotional connection, because I didn't feel it strongly in Boba Fett, even though obviously they were there together, Book of Boba Fett. So I think if there could be some emotional connectiveness, I would forgive it if he were in it. Yeah.
Yeah, I loved how they went out of their way in the Boba Fett series to show Ahsoka and Luke together. Like I thought it was great because like you don't know who Luke comes across after Return of the Jedi, and you think, okay, Obi-Wan's gone, Yoda's gone. Who's he going to look to that has any kind of like experience and like wisdom? And it's like Ahsoka, like that's so cool. So
yeah, she's so good. Just she's great. She's an ideal Jedi.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a question. What stood out the most to you, Mike, in this?
Yeah, Mike,
trailer?
you're important.
Well, what stood out most to me is just I was just surprised it was live action like you guys were. I did not expect that, even though they cast Rosario Dawson. I'm excited because it looks just like a badass series. Like it just looks different than what we've been getting from Mando and Obi-Wan, hopefully. So it's just a different form of Star Wars storytelling. And there's just everything about it. I'm curious to know more about Ahsoka. So, yeah.
I think this show's going to have probably like the most Kurosawa-esque kind of feeling to it, as like kind of like a samurai Jedi kind of, Venn diagram type thing going on for the show. And we can kind of briefly touch on some of the other Celebration stuff here before we close out. Was that one of the things they also announced at Celebration today was that Dave Filoni is going to be directing a live action film that's essentially going to be culminating all of this Mando kind of timeline stuff. So even though like a few weeks ago we got like that quote from Jon Favreau was like, well, we don't have an idea for like a series finale for Mando.
Well, yeah. Blowing smoke.
But they do.
But Filoni does.
Yeah.
Well,
We don't.
I bet you that means that Ahsoka is probably going to have this like cliffhanger ending, obviously. And Mandalorian season 3 is going to have this cliffhanger ending, and it's all going to culminate into that Filoni event film, which would be really sick to see, like, Sabine, like with Bo and Mando, and you got Grogu, and you've got like some of the live action Rebel characters. Maybe Zeb will return. I mean, who's to say he's not going to be in this anyway? But like, that would just be a really, really cool ending as it relates to this sort of Heir of the Empire thread, and stuff like that.
Bad Batch, which obviously is happening before this, it's like kind of the tendrils of it, of kind of what's going on. It sounds like that is also leading into and informing some of it. So that also, we just had the season finale on that one, and it ruled, and also made me cry. So I'm sure, it's all of them sort of coming together. It'd be so good.
What's
And I
the over under that Rex is going to be in Ashoka, the series?
I- Do you want me to sob uncontrollably for the rest of time? My best friends, Ahsoka and Rex. I would love for him to show up. That would be so good.
I think he's got to, because I mean, again, Tamara Morrison's there.
Yeah,
Shooting Book of Boba Fett.
There.
he's just there.
He's not doing anything. Like, what, you know, so
He's not doing it.
But yeah, and I think Skeleton Crew is part of like this Mando timeline too. So I think that could also be like part of this culmination film that they're going to be doing. I don't think they gave a date for when that movie's coming out. So we like,
and it was revealed that Jude Law is going to be playing a Jedi. Is that correct? Did I hear that right?
I just know he's in Skeleton Crew. I didn't hear anything past that.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Well,
And the only other thing I had heard at one point was that the Dorian Shard was supposed to show up in that too. But if that's the case, that means
He's
Skeleton Crew
crispy
is-
now.
Yeah, I was going to say
So
that show takes
Crispy
place
lettuce.
before season 3 of Mandalorian. So, but yeah, and then like the two other kind of things that we can kind of briefly touch on was, I kind of already brought up the James Mangold like origins, where I liked how he kind of described it as like, I want to make a Bible movie, but about like the origin of like the discovery of the Force and the
I've always been
Jedi.
curious about that. So
yeah, I think I'm really psyched about that. Like seeing the origins. Maybe they'll go back to Skeelig Michael, the island there, and show the first Jedi temples, and you know, like he even referenced like a Cecil B. DeMille type approach to Star Wars, like Ben-Hur and you know Moses and Ten Commandments, like that kind of
epic.
or tome to a Star Wars film, which would be really, really interesting. So
Maybe yeah, because it's supposed to be like 25,000 years before
25,000 years
Episode
before New Hope.
What?
Yeah.
What?
It'd be cool to see like Jeddah that we saw in Rogue One, but like
Mhm.
before like all that stuff got knocked down.
Oh,
Mhm.
that yeah. I like
Before it got
that.
knocked down, you mean blown up?
Yeah.
So
Well,
one quick
stuff was already knocked down.
one quick point back on the Skeleton Crew. So I did just pull this up. They did screen footage. It's not public, so if you were there, you saw it. But it was accounted that it revealed that Jude Law's character is a Jedi, with him
There you
using
go.
the Force to push some keys to kids who are stuck in a prison. And then the last shot of the teaser quote shows Law's Jedi character walking down from a ship wearing a similar shirt to Lando's blue guard from Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back. So that's pretty cool that Jude Law is going to be a Jedi.
That's
That's pretty cool.
fun.
He's Dumbledore and now he's a Jedi. Like, that's pretty cool. So
It's also Watson.
yeah.
Oh, he's also talented,
Ma-
Mr. Ripley.
Yeah. It's all
It's
all
one of
the
my
names.
favorite movies. Is that weird? Is that
No.
weird that I would say that that's one of my favorite movies? So
You just like a terrifying movie, I guess. That movie rules.
Yeah, and then like the last thing they announced, which was pretty cool, is that Daisy Ridley is going to be coming back as Rey in a film that's set 15 years after Rise of Skywalker, where she's going to
Killed
be
the
heading
last Palpatine clone finally.
Yeah.
That's-
killed
that's
their grandpa.
how the movie starts, just beheading one more.
I have mixed feelings about this, and not to plug my podcast, the Fuse Film Podcast. We do
Plug away.
on our show, we do a lot of pitches where we want to like talk about what we think should happen in our favorite franchises and how they should continue and stuff. And we did a Star Wars episode where we had Rob Keyes from Screen Rant on, and we pitched our ideas for what would happen after episode 9. And it was like, what if Kathleen Kennedy gave us the keys, right? What would you do? And that was the construct of what we had to pitch. And I have always felt like I wanted to do something so far beyond episode 9 where it ended, just to avoid having to be stuck within the threads of the canon and stuff, similar to what James Mangold's trying to do with this sort of biblical epic of 25,000 years in the past. I'd want to go like, 5,000 years into the future. That's an arbitrary number, but like,
Right.
so Rob had actually pitched, not to listen to the episode because it's a lot better, but like he actually pitched that maybe they should stick to keeping Rey, and some time has passed after Rise of Skywalker, and maybe she's finally setting up this new Jedi school and stuff. So he's like spot on to kind of what's happening. Although he's a big gamer, so he threw in the idea of what if Kyle Katarn shows up from the Dark Forces Jedi Academy games, and you have sort of that concept wielded within the series. So that could be possible, and maybe we'll get Dash Rendar too. I don't know, but check it out on our podcast. But we did a really in-depth episode on what we think should happen. I still think my idea is really good. I won't spoil it, but it has to do with Mandalorians and their state of the galaxy and stuff like that. So,
and don't worry, 25,000 years ago or 5,000 years in the future, Palpatine can be there. We know that.
Well, somehow.
Yeah. What was the line? What was the line? Somehow Palpatine just
returned. Somehow Palpatine returned. Yeah, if you listen to the Trek Wars pod, every once in a while we go, we don't like this movie. I wished that movie had ended with Rey like starting the school, like a kind of gentle, almost like end of Little Women kind of thing, like starting a school.
We have a question in the chat if anyone would like to answer. I can't put it up on screen, but Gustavo Marx wants to know who was the Mando lady, who was the orange droid, and who was the green lady.
The green lady was Hera. The Mando lady was Sabine. And then the orange droid was Choppa.
Yep.
I think that's Justin Garfey, who's been on the show before, just being, wise ass.
Hey, I gotta give him his due. He commented. So.
I love the idea that someone just like found this and was like, "What are we talking about?"
What's Star Wars?
Was that you, Mike? It was actually Mike commenting. He's like, I don't want them to know I don't know.
I have no problems admitting I don't know. That's okay.
No.
Knowledge is power, and I don't have it.
Oh man. Well,
so
go ahead.
Real quick. The news on the Daisy Ridley returning and stuff. Is that the same project that originally had Damon Lindelof attached as writer, and then he just recently walked away? Is that the same one?
I'm not sure, because there's been so many, like our friend Ralph posted something that I thought was kind of returned to the sentiment of it's like every time a Star Wars film is announced and it's got like Saw Gerrera taking his breathing mask off, and he's like, lies, deception,
lies, all lies. Yeah.
And it says, I'm hopeful these new announcements happen, and then there's screenshots of the Rogue Squadron announcement, the Taika Waititi Star Wars movie, the Damon Lindelof Star Wars movie. So I would like all of these things to happen. Hopefully that they do. It's kind of a bummer to not get your hopes up too much about any of the Star Wars movies until you finally see like a trailer or know that they're actually filming that thing.
Yeah.
I was really pumped about that Patty Jenkins film. Now it's like, I guess you don't.
It's not going to happen. It's dead.
We are in that May sweeps time, to throw back to our episode last night. So you got to sell some ad space, so make all these announcements, get the ad space.
Well, and it is coming off the heels of Bob Iger and a lot of his public statements around Marvel and Star Wars, and a lot of the release date changes, and saying basically, look, we're cutting costs on the VFX stuff and trying to scale all that down, and we're also going to take our time with Star Wars, I think is what he said. And so he's probably making sure that those people are not quick to announce anything on anything. So that's why I was somewhat surprised today that we're getting a Star Wars 10, and that Ahsoka was. We already knew about Ahsoka, but I was surprised we were getting a trailer so soon. So very exciting. Good day. It's Good Friday.
There you go.
Yeah. All around. So I think that'll do it for our first stab at a live stream. So we thank both Aspen and Kevin for joining us again today for this. I'll do like our spiel, kind of like we always do, even though it's live. So you guys can leave us a review on the podcast catcher of your choice, whether it's Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you listen to us. If you're actually watching this live stream, you found us on YouTube. You can find us by searching HOLDOPod here, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all those places. All this stuff is already in the show notes too, because I pre-made it earlier. So
It's there. You got to read.
Yeah, just look under the video if you're watching the video. If you're listening to it, you can't read it under the video because you're listening. So that's
Just
on
imagine. Use your imagination.
Yeah. Go to the world in between worlds. Individually, you can find myself and Mike on Instagram and Twitter. And then I did put both Aspen's and Kevin's info in the show notes already, though, too. But Aspen, I'll let you take the floor to plug your stuff now, and then I will then pass it off to Kevin to then do the same.
Sure. Am I frozen? I look frozen on my side.
You're in the world between worlds.
Oh, no.
You got to let it go.
Okay, well, so yeah, I am on Twitter personally, but really it's more interesting if you go.
Oh.
Well,
I didn't do that. I promise.
I'll end what she was going to say. It's more interesting if you go to Trek Wars Pod on Twitter, where you can find all of her episodes with Kenny, where they both talk about Star Trek and Star Wars chronologically through as what they were released. Recently, they did, I believe, the Phantom Menace versus, not Phantom Menace, A New Hope versus the motion picture. So,
no, recently they did our show. Let's just put it that they didn't do anything but our show.
Okay, and then we'll give it back to Kevin.
Yeah. Well, first off, thanks for having me, and
thanks for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, all those places under the banner at Fused Film. And yeah, we're just getting started in the podcasting. We used to be a big website back in the day and kind of took a hiatus for a long time and wanted to come back and do podcasting. And the name Fused Film really is just kind of amalgamating all of the things that I enjoy, which is Marvel, DC, Star Wars, Star Trek, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Really, those are the things that I love talking about and spending time sharing hot takes and opinions and ideas and theories and all those fun things. And I'll always have friends as my guests. So look forward to maybe having all three of y'all at some point on one of our future episodes. We don't really have like a cadence. Sometimes things are weekly, sometimes things are monthly, but we're finding a stride. We're finding a path, and just encourage y'all to check us out. You can check us out anywhere where podcasts are heard, and we also can watch us on YouTube. So
nice.
Yeah.
Aspen, I'll let you finish what you're saying. I finished what you were saying, but I'll let you finish what you were saying.
Yeah, I really was frozen. It really did happen.
Yep.
Yes, Trek Wars podcast, where my co-host Kenny and I we compare Star Wars to Star Trek. So trying to ultimately figure out which is better, which is clearly a conversation that makes perfect sense. And we are comparing apples to apples, not apples to oranges. But mostly what we do in our podcast is it's less talking about, we talk about lore, but we end up talking a lot about kind of socio-political issues. Like, you know,
So
you're like
Star Trek.
Yeah, right. Well, you're like, we're talking about like Star Wars Ewoks, and we're like, let's talk about like the carceral state. So that's like what comes up in ours a lot. So yeah, you can check it out. Trek Wars podcast anywhere you get podcasts. So.
There you go.
Nice. Very cool. And then Mike gets to cheat with this now because now he
I don't have to cheat.
Oh, I was gonna say because you made a soundboard key for it now,
Right?
But
you never know what I'm gonna do. The wild card.
Technically, this episode didn't have to be edited, but you can find our editor Vactor on Instagram and Twitter too. He does his own great Star Wars content over his channel as well. And then he's also been on Fuse Film over there with Kevin. But then you can also email us at holdopod@gmail.com. And as always, we are grateful to George Lucas for creating the Star Wars universe.
Oh dear, thank the maker. See, I don't know.
Bye, everybody.
Yay.